हेलो एंड वेलकम टू अपना शो। मेरा नाम है आशीष और आप देख रहे हैं अपना शो। नमस्ते, सत श्री अकाल, आदाब। सो लेट्स गो टू अवर अचीवर सेक्शन वेयर वी आर गोइंग टू मीट टुडे अपर्णा सिंधूर। दोस्तों, हम आपको मिलवाते हैं ऐसे लोगों से जिन्होंने किया है कुछ हटके इस देश में, इस देश से बाहर और पूरी दुनिया में, जिन्होंने अपना नाम फैलाया है, जिन्होंने कुछ अचीव किया है और साउथ एशियन कम्युनिटी को आगे बढ़ाया है। ऐसे ही एक गेस्ट से, ऐसे ही एक स्पेशल गेस्ट से आज हम मिलने जा रहे हैं जिसका नाम है अपर्णा सिंधूर।
Today we are here at Somerville at Gibbons Street, and the place is Aparna Sindhoor's Dance Theatre. Aparna is a contemporary dance teacher and she is a performer, she is a choreographer. She has done various shows across the world in America, India, Canada, and has been praised by many newspapers, many critics. Hi Aparna.
Hello, hi Ashish.
So Aparna, tell us about like some of your background, how you started doing this dance and
I started a long time ago in India. I'm originally from Mysore in southern India. I started training with my teacher. My first teacher is my mother. So my mother was a dancer, although she never danced professionally. She just did it, with her love for it. So she trained me when I was very young, and then when I was about 8, she thought it's not enough if mother only taught the daughter. So if I got serious about dancing, more interested and all that, so she found me a teacher, and it so happened that my mother always wanted to learn with Dr. Venkatalakshamma, who was she's the doyen of the Mysore style of Bharatanatyam. So my mother's dream was to learn with her. My mother wanted to learn, but she was a palace dancer, and there is no way you can as a kid my mother didn't know how to reach her. So when I started training seriously, my mother found Venkatalakshamma's senior student, Miss Krishnaveni. She was my first guru, official guru apart from my mother. So Krishnaveni madam taught me for 2 years, and then in an artist gathering I saw Dr. Venkatalakshamma one day. And then my mother said, "Oh, Amma is here, why don't you go talk to her, get her blessing," how mothers are, right? So I didn't know what the significance of this meeting, so I just went like any other kid would go. And when I went to meet her, there are all these so many kids wanting to be like blessed by her or whatever, talk to her. So the thing was, she didn't take many students. That was at least the rumor, that she won't take many students and she'll only select a few. And so I didn't go in thinking, oh, she'll take me as a student. I just wanted to go get her blessings. And then I, did the namaste and all that. So for whatever reason, she just held my, face like this and said, "Oh, you want to learn from me? I can teach you. Why don't you come?" Wow. She just said like that, casually. And then I came back and told my mother. My mother is like, "No, she didn't say like that." I said, "Yes, she did." And then next morning when I went to Krishnaveni madam's class, my mother told what happened in the gathering. So she said, "Oh, Amma will never say like that. Maybe she really likes Aparna. Why don't we take her?" So she just dropped everything, and we bought coconut and flowers and everything, just ran. Okay. And then she took me, okay. She took me in, and
so your mother's dream came
so rest is history. But so it was true that she didn't take many students, but why she took me is a mystery still now. But then I was really blessed to be her student for a long time. And so as I was training in Bharatanatyam, I also trained in Carnatic music, and I always sang as a child because my father was a singer. So I learned, I never learned with him like directly, like sitting and learning music seriously, but I learned from him a lot. And then I did a lot of yoga, and since I was a child I trained in theatre. I was an actress working for different companies and all that.
And all this was in Mysore?
It's all in Mysore. All this happened, of course I traveled for performances outside Mysore, but all the training was in Mysore.
And this was between the period of like your teenage or?
I started when with Venkatalakshamma I was 10 by then. Then for 15 years I just continued with it. Not 10, maybe even younger than that, 8 or something.
And you came to US in 1991?
No, 96.
1996. Yeah. So you started your studio in India in Mysore?
In Mysore,
in 1991?
Yeah, I started teaching there. I mean, that time my teacher was also still teaching, but she allowed me to teach on my own. She said part of training is not just learning how to dance, but also how to sing, to be able to do the natvangam, you know, the tala and everything. So I used to teach her junior students first, and then I took my own students, couple of them, and slowly, you know.
So where does this passion, like of course one thing is from your mother, it comes to you, but apart from that, like is it like inner feeling also that you want to do the dance, or it just came through your mother?
I mean, it was always there in me. I always used to say I want to be a dancer since I was very little, even when I didn't know what it means to be a professional dancer, you know. A lot of people take up dancing seriously, but they don't go into it as a profession, right? They will do it in their free time, yeah. But for me, there is no free time. This is what I do, you know.
It's not a hobby.
Yeah, it's not a hobby. It's my profession, my job, my passion, you know, my happiness, my sorrow, everything is this. Yeah, so.
Like Ralph Waldo Emerson said once that do not go where the path may take you. Go where there is no path and leave a trail. And I think that's what Aparna is doing with her contemporary style. So let's find out about what she brings in from her perspective into the cultural or into the basic dance. So like you try to do a fusion kind of thing.
I don't call it fusion, I call it contemporary dance theatre. I mean, there is nothing wrong with fusion, but I don't necessarily go into rehearsal thinking, okay, now I'm going to fuse Bharatanatyam with Kathak or modern or ballet. I don't approach it that way. I usually work with a certain kind of theme or music, then whatever that theme or music or the choreography calls for, I go for it. Because I also trained in modern dance and a little bit of jazz, and I do a lot of folk dance styles from India. And so since I did theatre, maybe that influenced me a lot in terms of like to be more open about my ideas about dance. So I, you know, bring all these forms. So if I'm telling a story, right, whether it's story about you know, Draupadi or something more contemporary, about a woman from northern India, like indigenous woman, so which is happening now, then I can't just necessarily say I'm going to fix everything, all the choreography in Bharatanatyam, you know. That's not going to tell the story I want to tell. So that won't do justice to the script. So I then have to make my own movement. And I also sing. So I sing a lot of songs live on stage. Yeah. And then I sometimes, yes, sometimes it's used just as a song, and sometimes so all the people who join my company, they're all, I train them not just in dance but also in singing and acting and everything. Yeah. Related.
So I mean, even I am a kind of low, I'm a beginner in this. I don't understand all the different forms. Even maybe some of the audience would like to know what are the major differences in like maybe like 4 or 5 forms that you use. So Bharatanatyam, Kathak. What are the major key differences in that?
So the Bharatanatyam is, you know, I guess one of the most popular classical dance forms. So it has like a plie like in ballet, but more grounded. So it's and then we use a martial art form called Kalaripayattu, which is from Kerala in India. So that is also has very grounded movements, but Kalari is a martial art and Bharatanatyam is a very codified classical dance form. So when you bring these two together, you know, there is something that happens. It's like magic, you know. I'm not saying every boy, like for example, my assistant choreographer Anil, he's an expert in Kalaripayattu. So he can, you know, move in a way that it will, like they have all these movements called Gajavadivu, Singhavadivu, so like referring to animals. Yeah, so, yeah, lion or, you know, snake. So I don't necessarily use them like, oh, let's do now Sarpavadivu and like move like snake. It's not like that, but maybe there is a scene where people are moving in, like let us say in a refugee camp. So the movement is slow but very, you know, it's going in one direction. So maybe that's where we need this one kind of walking. So then I don't want to do the typical Bharatanatyam takka, dhimmi, takka, then that won't work. Then you don't see a refugee camp, you see a classically trained Bharatanatyam dancer, right? So then I change the form. I make my own. Yeah, yeah.